optimistic. Hashtag SNY tweets.
It's May Day.
Well, there's two ways of taking that, Keith.
Let's hope we get some tweets.
Mets and Braves. First pitch coming right up. Seasonably cool May day in Atlanta. Temperature right around 70 degrees at game time. Brand new SunTrust Park. Braves have played just 7 games here. A little longer to go over the ground rules. Terry Collins in this new ballpark for the first time. You might call it escape from Turner Field as far as the Mets are concerned. Their record in the Braves' last ballpark was not stellar. 67 and 106, 13 walk-off losses. I will say, though, that last year was their best year. They finally figured out Turner Field. They went 7-3, most wins they've ever had in a season in the old ballpark.
Of course, in the last year.
Right. Now we'll see how they fare at SunTrust Park. Up in the northwest suburbs, Cobb County, Smyrna address. That's S-M-Y-R-N-A.
Very good.
Ronnie clued me in on that. Here's your Geico Mets starting lineup. Michael Conforto remains in the leadoff spot. Curtis Granderson still right in the middle of the lineup despite a dreadful April. T.J. Rivera gets his 4th straight start at first base with Lucas Duda still rehabbing. And there is Julio Teheran, whom the Mets are already facing for the 3rd time this year.
You know, his Toyota numbers have always been great against the Mets. His 8-3 in 16 starts career. One telltale sign this year, though, his walks are over 4.5 per every 9. That's something we have not seen from Teheran. See if the Mets can take advantage of it.
And the Coors Light Atlanta Brave defense, that Gold Glove outfield, they just gave Inciarte, the center fielder, his first Gold Glove, awarded him on the field before the game. On the infield, of course, you've got Brandon Phillips, a 4-time Gold Glover, and Freddie Freeman, who hasn't won one, but he's under the radar. He might win one day. He's got a terrific glove over at first. Tyler Flowers behind the plate.
Well, you know what you speak of, Keith, because we've got between us 12 Gold Gloves in this booth.
That's right.
It's four apiece.
Well,
Michael Conforto leads things off.
this is the capitalist booth.
We don't share and share alike. That's news to me. Wait a second. First pitch by Tehran is taken for a strike, and we're underway. Conforto had a good series in Washington, 5 for 13 with a couple of home runs, hitting at .321 on the year. Braves put the full shift on against Conforto, and the curveball is in for a strike, and it's quickly 0-2.
Well, one of the bright spots is Conforto getting a chance to play. He was an extra outfielder, and he has really swung the bat well.
0-2 from Tehran, and it's taken high. There's Drupal Cabrera on deck, and then Jay Bruce for the Mets in the opening inning.
The home run to the opposite field in Washington was definitely most impressive.
One he hit off the lefty.
Yes.
And he just got a piece of that to stay alive. As Drupal Cabrera waits on deck.
And Terry Collins had Jose Reyes hitting second a few games ago. Wanted to switch hitter behind Conforto. Well, he's got another one there in Cabrera.
Cabrera had the day off yesterday, so Reyes slid over to short and batted second. 1-2 from Tehran, and it's smacked in the air to center field. Back goes Inciarte to the warning track, back at the wall. It's out of here. Michael Conforto with a leadoff home run. His 7th home run of the year, his 3rd leadoff home run, and the Mets, just like that, take a 1-0 lead.
Don't hang a hook.
Seven home runs. You called it, Ronnie. High slider hanging out over the plate, and look how strong Conforto is. Now he's left the ball yard on this road trip in all fields, central, left, and right.
Wasn't it 410 the center field at the old ballpark? I can't remember, but you would see what, 3 or 4 home runs to center field an entire 9-10 game series.
Well, I will say this, everybody who has watched the first handful of games in this ballpark says it jumps. We are up on a little rise here in Cobb County, where the ballpark's located, as Cabrera grounds one to Brandon Phillips, and that's the first out. And much as was the case in the old ballpark at Fulton County Stadium, they say when you hit it, it goes.
The section of Smyrna here is called Windy Hill, and it's known for being one of the highest places in the Atlanta Metroplex and very windy.
I mean, it takes a while to figure out how a ballpark's going to play. They've got a whole complex of large buildings out beyond right field. There are a couple out beyond left as well. That affects the winds. So we'll see how it plays over the course of a full season as Jay Bruce takes outside. There's a whole hotel and commercial complex that's going up out beyond right field. Bruce had a big day yesterday, 3 for 4, a double and a homer, and he drills one, and Brandon Phillips makes a spectacular play for the second out.
His old buddy, his old teammate.
Well, that's just getting up there and getting it. Pure reaction, flashing the gold.
How about coming back from the groin injury? So obviously 100%.
4-time Gold Glover, and that is about it's about as high as he's going to get.
Speaking of high, we're up here pretty high in this new ballpark, Gare.
It's hard to tell that because we were just in Washington, Keith, and you know, you know how high that is.
I missed so much the last what 5-6 games.
There's no Walker taking ball 1.
There's the play again.
Interesting, their shift. He doesn't play in the outfield. He'd have to catch that on a hop. Instead, had to go up there 38+ inches.
Brandon Phillips, former Cincinnati Red, coming over here to the Braves. Maybe not quite the level of defender that he once was, but it was a pretty sweet play. Neil Walker had a rough go of it in Washington and went 0 for 12 in the series. You had Walker hitting 4th and Granderson hitting 5th, going a combined 0 for 23 in that series, and yet the Mets won 2 out of 3. And scored 17 runs. I mean, the Nats scored 23 yesterday, but 17 runs in 3 games is nice output.
It's supposed to work.
Well, it did. They went 2 of 3.
They
right?
did.
It's all about distribution. And the curveball misses outside 3-1.
Well, it's just a shame that they went after a bad homestand and go into their rival Washington Nationals Park and win the first game, come from behind in the second game, and then to have the doused with yesterday's injury.
Walker lifts one out to right center. And Markakis over in the gap gives way to Inciarte, and the ball is carrying well. And Inciarte gets it at the edge of the warning track to end the inning. But Michael Conforto leads off the night with a home run and gives the Mets an early 1-0 lead. They've done a nice job here of at SunTrust Park is honoring the full scope of Braves history, going all the way back to the previous stops in Milwaukee and Boston. There's the Warren Spahn statue, red left-hander who played for the Boston and Milwaukee Braves but never played here in Atlanta.
Do you think there is a local artist that does that, or is there an artist who does those baseball sculptures around baseball? We're going to ask Gelbzy to get off LA time and maybe take that up one of these days.
Here's your Braves starting lineup. Phillips back after a groin injury. Dansby Swanson has been struggling, but the rest of the Braves lineup has been producing, most notably Freddie Freeman, who had a great month of April. Robert Gsellman on the mound for the Mets tonight, trying to bounce back from a rough go against the Braves his last time out, and Ender Inciarte takes one low for ball 1.
There's the Land Rover numbers. We've been waiting for him, Keith. Not good. I'm sure Robert does not want us to show them for a while. He's had one good start out of the 4.
Well, too many hits and too many walks.
To be successful, he's got to throw his sinker and get early contact. He has to pitch left-handers in, and he's got to be able to mix in his changeup to change speeds. He can be so effective that way.
1-2 to Inciarte, who has picked it up lately after a slow start. This is batting average up to 230 on the year. Well, one thing about Gsellman, he's not going anywhere. I mean, the Mets had a lot of pitching depth, they thought, going into spring training, but it hasn't worked out that way. with Matz and Lugo going on the shelf early, and they're probably both a month away from returning. And now Syndergaard down, and Rafael Montero probably coming up to take his start on Friday. The Mets are basically empty as far as starting pitcher replacements are concerned.
Yeah, I've heard on social media the chants for Bartolo Colon.
Well, that's on the Met fans' wish list,
of course,
but I don't think the Braves are going to give him away either. We'll also note that Bart is not off to a great start. Mets will face Colon on Wednesday night. Inciarte smacks one to deep right field, headed toward the wall, and that ball is gone. So each team has had a leadoff home run. Inciarte, with his 5th home run of the season, gets the Braves even at 1.
Inciarte, not a big guy. 5 home runs.
Well, I just said that it's so important for Gesellman to be able to bury that fastball inside to lefties. Watch d'Arnaud. He's in there, and the ball just floats right over the middle.
It didn't float. It just bled right into the happy area.
Inciarte hit just 3 home runs all of last year. He now has 5, including he hit the first one ever in this ballpark. And now he's got one leading off the night against Gesellman. Now Brandon Phillips is riding a 13-game hitting streak. He's 5th in the National League with that .355 average. Phillips and Freeman and Kemp and Markakis and Flowers all having tremendous starts to their year in this Braves lineup. Flied foul down the right side, and that'll go out of play.
Not bad foul territory here. I mean, not great, but a little more than some ballparks.
I think it's fair.
Yeah.
Very little room down in that corner, that big jut in the stands on each side. Slow grounder. Who's going to get it? Rivera ranging wide, and Gesellman gets over to cover, and they get the out.
We'll take a quick look after that 3-1 on your scorecard. Alexis defense. Curtis Granderson in center. Jay Bruce back in his familiar turf in right field. I thought he played excellent first base, Gary. TJ Rivera has been starting at first, getting some playing time. Jose Rivera and Jose Reyes and Cabrera Stool. Shortstop and third base. d'Arnaud behind the plate.
There's Freddie Freeman. And he socks one down the left field line. Toward the corner goes Conforto, and it goes foul. Not much room once you cross the line there in foul territory.
Keith, I was talking to Jay Bruce today, and I congratulated him. I said, Jay, you did a great job at first base. He said, I hope I don't have to go back there again.
Did he really? I went up to him in the dugout. I saw him. I said, hey, Jay, you can play first base. And he had that pretty smile of his.
Oh, he did? Good.
Gesellman handles the comebacker, and Freeman's retired, 2 out. Well, the plan is for TJ Rivera to stay there at first base until Lucas Duda gets back. Mets are also hoping to have Wilmer Flores back later this week, so they'll have a few more options over there.
When's Jaime Garcia pitching, Gary? Is that why he's coming back?
That's Thursday night. It's the last game of the series. Here's Matt Kemp, who had himself a big day on Saturday. Hit 3 home runs in 1 game in Milwaukee. Mets are familiar with the 3 home runs in 1 game concept. After watching Anthony Rendon have a day yesterday as few have ever had in the big leagues.
I clipped the box score out just to put it, paste it in my book, because you might not see a day like that ever again.
It was a good slider by Gesellman, and it's 1-1. Well, it's the first 6-for-6, 3 home run, 10 RBI day in Major League history. Nobody's ever had that combination. And there's no asterisk in the fact that he hit the last one off Kevin Flores. Right. They all count.
What was it? Was it Walker Cooper that had the biggest day?
He went 6-for-7.
Right.
With 3 and 10.
Right.
Yeah.
By the way, I heard the Open. Just got a letter from Kevin Plawecki. He challenges you on the gun to see who can throw harder.
I call baloney. He was throwing lollipops up there.
Poke to Walker. Plays the one hop. And throws out Kemp to end the inning. So Gesellman gets 3 ground balls in a row after the Inciarte home run. Ties the game at 1 after 1. Season, at least according to the expectation game, these are the surprise teams in the National League. Colorado and Arizona 1-2 in the West, and the Giants and the Mets, who played each other for the wild card last year, both in last place in their division.
I think the Boston Red Sox have been kind of underperforming, RJ.
No offense, but
this was the National League.
Well, it's okay. I just thought I'd be more global.
Here's Curtis Granderson to lead off.
I think that was just a dig at me because I'm from Massachusetts. You always like to give a little dig.
That's what it was.
Okay.
It was right into your rib cage.
I would also put the Toronto Blue Jays in the disappointment category. 8-17, and that's having won their last 2. Granderson gets ahead of one and pulls it foul. Speaking of disappointment, Granderson just 1 for his last 28 after an 0-for-11 series in Washington.
Boy, it's been a struggle. 86 at-bats coming in. 128 BA. Not. Boy.
And as Terry Collins continues to point out, not just that, but a 174 on base percentage. There have been past years where Granderson hasn't had many hits in April, but he's always had a number of walks, and that hasn't been the case.
And his strikeouts are 21 in 86 at-bats. So it's been a tough April for Curtis.
And he tries to push a bunt, but pushes it foul. Gave him the whole left side of the infield to shoot at.
When you're an older player like last year, Curtis got off to a bad start as this one, not as bad, but not good, and turned it around. But as each year you get older and you're in your mid-30s, people start wondering, is this the cutoff period that when it's all downhill? So Curtis trying to find it.
And Tehran strikes him out for the first out of the inning. First strikeout for Tehran.
Don't see that very often. After the strikeout on the breaking ball by Granderson, Flowers throwing it around, threw it into the outfield. You see that on lower levels, but not usually here.
At least you can laugh about it.
Yeah, why not?
Now Jose Reyes, who has certainly picked things up over the last week. He's hit in 6 straight games. A couple of home runs mixed in. off-speed pitch misses for ball one. Garcia playing well in at third against Reyes. And he thinks about a bunt and takes a strike. It certainly makes sense for the Mets to try and get hits against Tehran any way they can. The last 7 times the Mets have faced Julio Tehran, he's pitched to an ERA of 0.91. 4-0, 0.91 in his last 7 against the Mets. Reyes drives one toward right center. Inciarte on the run and flags it down. Well, Inciarte was presented with his Gold Glove today, and he shows off his credentials early in the game.
Well, he ran this one down. Got a terrific jump. Balls too much air time for the Gold Glover out there to run it down nicely.
You ever notice the good outfielders? They never waver from the initial path they take to where they think the ball's going to land. It's always a straight line.
Great root efficiency.
There you go. Oh, I didn't know you were inclined that way there.
Just trying to, lend a little StatCast lingo to the broadcast.
You're not giving up the Beatles, are you?
Darno lifts one out to left field. And Kemp is there. 8 days a week, Ronnie. 8 days a week. Mets are on 1-2-3 in the top of the second. Inciarte got the trophy today and shows the goods to Rob Reyes. 1-1 as we go to the bottom of the second. Well, we referenced earlier Ender Inciarte receiving his Gold Glove for fielding excellence. Gold Glove center fielder in the National League last year. It's Steve Cohen of Rawlings presenting him with the trophy.
Much nicer looking trophies. They used to spray paint the leather on the trophies what they awarded us.
Yeah, it's a real glove. Like, it's not gold or anything. It was a real glove. They spray painted gold.
Yep.
And what is it now?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Oh, it's metal now. It's like a real cast.
Oh, really?
It's very nice.
It's not like solid gold, though.
No. It's not even gold. Come on.
So the spray painted glove, that actually sounds kind of cool.
I have, like I said, 11 of them.
I've heard that. Nick Markakis leading off in the home second. Markakis has been hot, hitting .435 over his last 6 games. Braves have had a very odd beginning to their season in terms of ups and downs. They split their first 2 games with the Mets. Then they lost 5 in a row. Then they won 5 in a row. Then they lost 6 in a row. Then they won 4 in a row. And then they lost yesterday. So we'll see if it's the start of a new streak. Robert Gsellman might have something to say about that.
They only had 7 games in April at home.
And that was by design with a new ballpark. Trying to get the kinks out. They won their first 4 games here at SunTrust Park, which was the longest winning streak for a team in a new ballpark since the Braves at Turner Field. Won their first 5 in 1997. 3-2 coming, and Markakis rolls one out to Walker. 4 straight ground ball outs for Robert Gsellman after giving up the leadoff home run to Inciarte. MLB.TV Premium is back and better than ever. Watch every out-of-market regular season game live on over 400 supported devices. Plus, get a free subscription to At Bat Premium. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. You don't suppose they built this ballpark with 20 years planned obsolescence, do you?
No. Yeah, no.
I didn't know if they were on that cycle now. Big cut by Adonis Garcia, and it's 0-1. Well, those are the 5 most recent ballparks opened in Major League Baseball. 2 in New York in 2009, then Minnesota and Miami. So it's been 5 years since a new one opened. Grounded out to short. Cabrera with a spinorama. And a good stretch by Rivera. Stayed on the bag. 2 out. Braves might challenge, but first base umpire David Rackley said he stayed on.
You know what it is? I think he came off, but then he
did
put his foot back on the bag.
The footwork's not there, but Rivera's not a first baseman. You can't criticize him. He's off the base. He got back. He did.
So no challenge by the Braves, I don't believe. Yep. Brian Snitker gives the palms down sign to the home plate umpire Chad Fairchild. We're not going to challenge.
Why don't they just let us call it from up here? That's no big deal. They don't need all the money they're spending, all the paperwork.
There's Tyler Flowers off to a tremendous start.
I don't know where he's going to go tonight. The Gsellman stuff is sharp, despite the leadoff home run.
Well, there you have it. Clear evidence, folks, that the right call was made.
Flowers takes outside. 2-1. Tyler Flowers, originally drafted by the Braves, came back to Atlanta after 6 years in Chicago with the White Sox. And Gsellman gets even 2-2.
Good changeup. First one of the night for Gsellman. Keith and I were on the bus today coming out to the ballpark, and the driver got up and said, I just wanted to make sure that Keith and I perked up. The starting pitcher's on the bus. So I said, oh yeah, he's back there.
He was the only player.
He was the only player.
We were 4 of us. Only 5 people on that last bus.
It's nice that they provided a bus just for you and the starting pitcher.
3:15 bus. Got my little nap in.
I think now, officially, because he's 14 months, you're taking more naps than Cash, my son.
Oh. You mean the Prince?
The Prince.
Keith is a big nap guy. You should know that.
I didn't used to be.
Again, the 3-2. And Flowers out to right. Bruce in to get it. Side retired. Gsellman's retired 6 in a row after 2. Mets and Braves tied at 1.
very frustrated with the game, but very, very frustrated with what happened to Noah. And you know what? It's over. I can't sit there and worry about it today. We got 25 guys who got to get ready to play today, and so it's my job to make sure that they are prepared.
What have you learned from managing these types of injuries in the past that you can take forward into this situation?
Well, there's no real answer to them. There's no real answer that when they're going to occur. There's all that talk about 6-man rotations. There's all that talk about rest. And there's yesterday, I heard a couple comments. Well, he had too much rest. So it's always going to be somebody's opinion that's going to be, hey, look, you make an educational decision on when to pitch a guy or when to rest a guy. And you know what? If something happens, it happens. It's part of the game. And there's no crystal ball. There's no extended rest or any other feature except making sure that these guys take care of themselves and they're honest with themselves when it comes to their bodies and how they feel.
That's today's quote of the game, presented by Investors Bank, banking in your best interest. And I think the bottom line when you start thinking about Noah Syndergaard and Yoenis Cespedes and all the other injuries that have befallen the Mets, and for that matter every other team, is that every situation is different. And I think what makes the Syndergaard situation so interesting is what led up to the injury yesterday. The timeline being that last week he complained about not being able to lift his arm. It was diagnosed as biceps tendonitis. Dansby Swanson catches the pop-up by T.J. Rivera for the first out. Then he was asked to submit to an MRI and decided not to. He threw a bullpen session. The Mets watched him throw the bullpen session. He was cleared by the doctors, and he went out to pitch on Sunday, and he tore a lat muscle. So that's what we know. We don't know that one part is related to another part, but I think you tried to gain a little medical knowledge today.
Well,
on this.
it's so difficult. I was talking, my roommate from college is my dear friend to this day. I talk to him whenever injuries like this occur. His name is Dr. Rich Diana. And the thing he told me is that, again, what you were saying before, every case is different. You can go into an MRI and try to look for biceps tendonitis, and you might not see a lat issue. A lat issue can sometimes rear itself and appear to be biceps tendonitis. So there's so many different kind of things that they're called referred pain. So the pain that you have that is really affecting how you throw the baseball might be located in a different area. So that's why we hear all the time when guys go, they have a flexor strain in their forearm. It's really that their elbow is an issue. So it's the referred pain about it. So, the lat is a huge muscle group that what it does is that it has the ability to try to make up for a weakness that is somewhere else. And we don't know, how partial that tear is, how strong the tear is. But in my opinion, well, Keith, let you go first because I don't want to keep talking. What's your opinion about?
I feel this. I thought that Bob Klapisch wrote a very good article in spring training when we talked with Tom House. And Tom House believes in throwing, and all the muscle groups, the shoulder, the elbow, and all the peripheral areas, they're all one mechanism. Right. And like you said, and the lap is the most powerful of the muscles. That's strike three, and they tend, when one's weak, the other ones compensate, and there you run into problems.
We'll talk more about this vital subject of vital interest to Met fans when we come back. Mets and Braves tied at 1 in the third. Well, I'm sure you've seen this from yesterday. Noah Syndergaard cringing on a fastball and then stopping all the proceedings after a changeup to Bryce Harper, and had the MRI this morning that diagnosed him with a partial tear of the right lat muscle, and he will be done for a period of time that has not been determined. But as Sandy Alderson said today, it's going to be weeks, not days.
You know, Terry said something very interesting about each pitcher has to know themselves. As Swanson with a fly ball to right, Bruce is going to be all over that. They have to know themselves well enough to be able to tell the truth. I have a hard time with that, and I'll tell you why. I used to pitch, and there's a lot of times you're asked by your manager, hey, tell me, are you all right? Can you pitch today? And you know, there's times that you're not 100%, but you feel like you owe it to your team. And if you're not broke, you're going to tell him, and you're going to look him straight in the eye and say, yes, I can pitch, and I'm going to go out there and I'll get the job done. And that's admirable. So I think that's where Noah was.
Right. I think the other thing that fans need to understand, as Tehran loops one out to Walker for the second out, is that players have every right to control their own medical care. They are adults. Although they're employed by the ball club, they're not beholden to the ball club to do medically what the ball club asks them to do.
Well, that was a surprise to me. I did not know that. So the ball club cannot force a player to get an MRI. Now, I've got to believe the ball player, if I'm a player, they have my best interests. Especially if I'm a player that is important as Syndergaard, but they have my best interests at heart. And what's to go sit in an MRI? It's our understanding that he came back and said no, he didn't want to do it, rejected, and for whatever reasons, I don't know why. But it's very unfortunate with the result.
Well, let me give you a case of why you wouldn't want to get an MRI. Let's say you truly believe you're 100%. There's a base hit there. Inciarte now 2 for 2. Let's say you do feel that it was a blip on the radar screen. You are 100%. MRIs, to me, scare the heck out of me. Why do they scare me? Because they're so thorough and they're so good that it doesn't matter. If you've got some innings on you, they could find a lot of things that you didn't even know were a problem. And that always scares me.
Here's Brandon Phillips, who grounded out his first time up. And he grounds one down to Reyes. He'll go the short way and get the force. And that gets Robert Gazelman through the bottom of the third. On to the fourth we go with the Mets and Braves tied at 1. Here's your Verizon trivia question for tonight. Julio Teheran, 8 career wins against the Mets, who are the only 2 active pitchers with more than 8 career wins against the Mets.
Well, I'm thinking one might be on the DL. NL West. North.
Okay.
Maybe.
Has he pitched enough against the Mets?
That's a good question.
It says dribble Cabrera. I mean, it's got to be a veteran guy, and you would think
more.
someone in the division, right?
Yeah.
Or who had been in the division. Cabrera grounded out to second base his first time up. And he hooks one to right field. Markakis will watch that ball hit off the base of the wall, and Cabrera will have to stop at first base. It's pretty tight out to right field. It's only 325 down the line. And once Markakis, who has a good arm, fielded that ball off the base of the fence, Cabrera had to stop at first.
Cabrera right here with the bullet. Now he's not running so grand. He stole 2 bases that first game. I thought was terrific in Washington, but really played nicely by the Gold Glover in right field. Held him to a single.
325 down the line, and then that wall comes across. It's a high wall in right field with those bricks up on top, so it's not quite like San Francisco where you've got so many different surfaces there, but you do have the padding. You've got the chain link fence in front of the fans there. As Bruce rips one into right field for a base hit, and that'll go down to the corner. Cabrera on his way to third. He'll be held up there. Bruce goes to second, and so Jay Bruce, who had a bullet that was caught his first time up, finds some grass this time for his 6th double of the year, and the Mets have second and third and nobody out.
Fastball in, too much plate and up. So Flowers, the catcher, set up outside, and that is good situational hitting. Got a runner on first base. You set up a big inning now.
So Teheran had retired 9 in a row after the Conforto home run, but he gives up back-to-back base hits to start the 4th. Second and third, nobody out. Braves will play their infield back, and Neil Walker the batter. Walker flied to right his first time up. Really essential for Neil to pull the ball here.
I was just thinking that Glenn Sherlock might have a little bit of baseball PTSD as far as sending runners with no outs. Probably won't happen for a while.
Might have to be a cut and dried situation.
Yeah.
Walker hits one toward the middle. That's a base hit. Cabrera is in. Bruce will be held at third against Inciarte's arm. And so Neil Walker gives the Mets the lead with an RBI single. It's 2-1 New York. 3 straight hits for the Mets against Teheran.
Oh, there's the good hitters that know how to handle a bat. And Walker can handle a bat. Look at the shift. That's the shortstop up the middle. Gosh almighty, you can drive an aircraft carrier through there. I mean, geez, get a ball out over the plate and hit it right there. Piece of cake. Well, not that much of a piece of cake.
Now Curtis Granderson will try and keep it going. Curtis struck out his first time up. Bruce now at third. Walker at first with nobody out. A run home here in the 4th. And the Mets now in front 2-1. 2 runs off Teheran. It's usually a night's work for the Mets. And Granderson takes an inside strike.
Teheran last year was much more economical and much tougher to hit than he's been this year. I know his numbers are good against the Mets in 2 starts plus this one, but he wasn't as good as he was last year so far.
Certainly not the last start, the one last Wednesday in New York. He was not sharp at all.
But even opening day, he walked a lot of guys. He had a lot of pitches. That's only why he went through 6 innings. He had to pitch out a lot of jams. Sometimes he has some efforts that take 2.5 hours.
We mentioned his walks, which are startlingly high through the first month of the season. I mean, last year Teheran was 2.0 walks per 9. This year he's 4.6, more than double. 2-1 to Granderson with Jose Reyes on deck. And that skips into Flowers. Thought about throwing behind Walker, but he scrambles back, and it's 3-1. So the Mets with an opportunity here to do some damage against Tehran, their frequent nemesis. How often do you face a pitcher 3 times by the 1st of May? How bizarre the scheduling has been.
I know if I were a pitcher, I would hate to face a team 3 times in the first month. Although I did face a team 3 times in 10 days, and that wasn't as good either.
And the backdoor breaking ball misses for ball 4, and so Granderson draws a walk. And now the bases are loaded with nobody out, with Reyes coming up. First walk given up by Tehran.
I also wonder, Tehran had such great success, and he had a great relationship, because I was told this, with Roger McDowell, the pitching coach who is no longer here. Now, Chuck Hernandez is a great pitching coach in his own right, great communicator, but it is a different communication. And sometimes, you know, it takes some time.
Last year was a different kind of a year for Tehran. He was an all-star. He was a 25-year-old ace of a very young pitching staff. Things are a little different this year. He's got veteran pitchers around him on the staff this year with Colon and Dickey and Garcia. Does that make a difference for a young pitcher?
I don't know if it makes a difference. It should make it easier, to tell you the truth, to know that you have some established veterans going to take the mound every 5th day, and that you can just do your part. Last year he had to do his part and more.
Of course, he got no run support last year and won only 7 games despite a 3.2 ERA. Well, he's got a mess to contend with here. Bruce at third, Walker at second, Granderson at first, and nobody out. And Reyes at the plate. And Jose takes ball 1. Reyes hit a drive to right center that Inciarte ran down to the gap his first time up. So Jose continues to hit the ball well. After 3 weeks of struggle, the last week has been much more encouraging. I don't think we've also ever seen Tehran work as slowly as he's working right now. And Reyes takes a fastball for a strike, 1-1.
You know, good teams concentrate on the people they have. All you have to do is look to last year, and I'm not talking about the Mets. The Dodgers lost Kershaw for an extended period of time, and you can argue they played their best baseball, and that's how they won the division. Mets have to do that also.
Tehran continuing to struggle with fastball command.
It's a jack of all trades, but he's mastered none so far tonight.
2-1 to Reyes with d'Arnaud on deck. And Jose punches one slowly. Garcia is going to go to first with it, and the Mets get a run. Reyes grounds out. Bruce scores, and it's 3-1 New York.
Oh, I thought that Garcia, who's not a great glove, to say the least, had a play at the plate. He had ideas to go home, but he played it safe. And let's take a look. I think he would have had him at home easily. Come up throwing, you got him.
Reyes had a similar play the other day where he went to first, and we thought he had a clear out at home. I think this was a more difficult play.
Well, Adonis was moving towards his left. Reyes was coming straight to the plate. That's why I thought Reyes was easier.
d'Arnaud is intentionally walked, and that will reload the bases with T.J. Rivera coming up.
Well, here's a better look right here. Let's see if he comes up thrown. He's got him.
Oh, yeah.
He's got him.
It's not even a contest.
It's not even a contest. Come on. So anyway, that's good for the Mets.
So now the walk to d'Arnaud reloads the bases for Rivera. DJ popped up his first time up. 1 out in the inning. 2 runs home. Mets with a 3-1 lead and a chance for more. Walker at third, Granderson at second, and d'Arnaud at first. And TJ lays off the slider, ball 1.
Tehran is going to work the right-handed hitter almost primarily away. So you have to shoot the ball that way.
Robert Gsellman on deck. Rivera had a rough day yesterday in Washington, 0 for 4 with a couple of strikeouts after 2 hits in each of the first 2 games of that series. Getting a chance to play with some regularity now and a chance to do some damage here. Looking for his first RBI of the year, and he lines one into center field, a base hit. Walker is in. Granderson held at third. TJ Rivera picks up his first RBI of the season, and the Mets have 3 runs home in the 4th and a 4-1 lead.
A free swinger in Rivera. It's a good slider, but he could throw it out of off the strike zone, and Rivera would probably chase off the end of the bat, strong enough to get it up the middle.
But you can eliminate half the plate if you're a right-handed hitter. He is not going to throw you in.
So 3 runs home in the inning. Now Robert Gsellman, who took a call third strike his first time up. And the Braves bullpen has some scrambling around now, with Tehran struggling here in the 4th. That's with 4 hits and 3 runs in the inning. And Gsellman lines one, caught by Phillips, and he'll hang on to it as everybody scrambles back.
Good base running by the Mets.
He might have had a play at second on d'Arnaud, but he didn't turn that way. Instead looked at first base, where TJ Rivera wasn't far off the bag.
He's tracking the ball off the bat, Gary, and that is peripheral vision, but he's moving away from second base and kind of had his back to second. Wasn't aware that he might have had a chance there.
So now 2 out, bases still loaded, and Michael Conforto, the 9th man up in the inning. Conforto led off the game with a home run over the center field fence, his 7th of the year and his 3rd leadoff home run of the season. And he takes a fastball strike.
Good pitch.
This is the most damage that the Mets have done against Tehran in a long time. Granderson, d'Arnaud, and Rivera the base runners with 2 out.
Break is back with a knock here.
Oh boy. The 2-out RBIs are always the most devastating. Not always, most of the time.
Look at that. Last 7 starts against the Mets, a total of 5 runs allowed. And 4 tonight. Fists a foul ball, and it's 1-2. The Mets average as a team with runners in scoring position coming into the night is pretty good, 283, but with 2 outs, 214.
Well, what's alarming about the team stats so far, Gary, is their rankings in runs scored. It's much like last year, 3rd in home runs, but the runs scored are not there.
11th in runs scored. It's about the same as last year, really.
That being said, their offense of the last 4 days much better.
1-2 to Conforto, up and in, 2-2.
I mean, they played 2 terrific ball games, the first 2 in Washington. And under normal circumstances, even if you get blown out 25 to whatever it was, 5 yesterday, you feel good about coming down here. But the injury just changed the whole. And you went into Washington, took 2 out of 3.
Or maybe it hasn't, the way the Mets have come out today.
Yep.
2-2 coming. And Conforto lines one, a base hit. Granderson is in. d'Arnaud being waved around. The throw by Markakis to the plate on a hop is safe. 2 runs score on the base hit by Conforto. And the Mets lead at 6-1.
Flowers again took that throw behind the plate. Can't believe it, guys.
Well, he said after he did it at Citi Field that it was by design, and that's how he wants to start to handle a throw. And we saw it again, and it might have cost him another out.
Overthrowing the cutoff man and just got under the tag. Very clutch hitting by Conforto. And I thought a good slider, back door. Rivera's got to be on 3rd base.
Mets have 5 runs home in this 4th inning. And now Asdrubal Cabrera, who led off the inning with a base hit off the wall in right field, gets a second turn. Rivera at second, Conforto at first, and a fastball strike from Tehran.
So should both runners be on second and third? Here's the play at home. Sorry.
You take the turn hard, and even on a play like that, you want to force the cutoff because that's a big second run right there in that RBI, giving you that 6th run. So if anything, you would be willing to give yourself up if knowing it's going to be a close play.
And the pickoff throw goes into center field, and the runners will move up to second and third. So Tehran having the wheels come off here in the 4th inning.
Trying to get out of the inning. He has an excellent move, but this throw completely off. Watch the daylight. Here it comes. Might have had a chance at him too without the bad throw.
So 2 in scoring position now for Cabrera. And that one almost went by Flowers on his backhand pick. 1-1. That saved a run. One to Cabrera, and he pulls that one toward the hole. Freddie Freeman on the backhand and makes the play to Tehran to put an end to the inning. But 10 Mets come to bat and 5 come home. Mets putting a hurting on Tehran. They lead 6-1 in the 4th. Let's answer our Verizon trivia question. We asked who are the only 2 active pitchers with more wins against the Mets than Julio Tehran and, of course, Gio Gonzalez.
Should have known Gio. That's
Cole Hamels, who used to be in the division. So there you go. Freddie Freeman leads off in the home 4th against Robert Gsellman, who's been staked to a 5-run lead. So far, so good for Gsellman, whose night began by giving up a home run to Ender Inciarte. He's given up just 1 more hit since. One hit Freeman in the leg, and he'll go to first base. So a leadoff base runner for the Braves. Let's check in with Steve Gelbs, who's back. This report tonight is brought to you by Volkswagen.
Garrett,
welcome back, Steve.
Garrett, did you miss me?
every moment. Steve.
Yeah, I missed you guys. I missed you guys a lot. But Robert Gsellman, like you mentioned, he's looking a lot better tonight. One of the things that was a little bit concerning, especially about his last start, was the fact that Gsellman's velocity really dropped off after the first inning in that game. And it's something that has happened at times with Gsellman this season. Dan Worthen didn't notice anything mechanical, though, with Gsellman. The one thing he has pinpointed is he thinks Gsellman has had so many issues early on with his control that he started to try and guide the ball in as the game wore on, and that's been part of the issue.
Well, it appears that the Mets are challenging the call of Freddie Freeman being hit by the pitch.
That's interesting. I thought he was hit. I heard he was hit. Could hear it from here. Let's see.
Got him.
He touched his pants.
Got his
Got
pants.
the uniform, yeah.
Yep.
Who's watching that down in the bunker? Let's go, guys.
Well, Terry Collins obviously got a call
Well, he got
saying
the
that they should challenge.
Shut the phone off. I mean, come on.
They got Sherman down there, Mr. Peabody.
Play under review brought to you by Mazda. Driving matters, and it doesn't take them long to confirm that Freddie Freeman was hit by the
You
pitch.
can hear it from up here. The reaction from Freddie. Just drop a little baseball on you. You'll know.
So the Mets lose their challenge for the remainder of the game. It was a weird challenge because it was pretty obvious from the replay that he got hit on the pad leg.
Don't get it.
Is there any punishment if they're wrong down there?
I think you'll have to inquire. I know the stocks have been outlawed. Here's Matt Kemp, who grounded out his first time up. Freeman at first and nobody out. And that's a rocket out to center field. Back goes Granderson to the track, looking up, and it's off the top of the wall in play. Freeman around third, heading home. The relay throw, and Freeman slams on the brakes and goes back to third.
Wow.
That ball came very close to going out of the ballpark.
Boy, I thought it hit the rocks behind it and bounced back. That's what I saw.
I thought so too, Ron.
Well, this one, well, the umpires are not going to review it automatically.
That's a home run.
Is it?
Yes. They're going to challenge. They got to challenge this.
It has to go over the yellow line.
I didn't see it there.
Well, it's up to the umpires to review this. The Braves don't have to use a challenge on a home run call. And so Brian Snitker has requested that the umpires do a
I hit
review.
the rock in the back.
You sure?
Yep.
I mean, that's what I saw. I can't see that on the replay.
Okay, let's check it out here.
No.
Oh, that hit the looked like it hit the yellow line.
Right on the top.
Yep. My mistake.
That's pretty amazing. On that angle, that could hit on top and it wouldn't skip forward.
Yeah.
It skipped backwards.
Must have run in the corner.
So this will be good if it's
over. I'll tell you what, those were the two quickest reviews that we've seen since they put replay in force.
I love it.
And guess what? There'll be no more replays this game.
No, it's the right call. It clearly hit on the yellow line and came back in. So.
I'm all for that.
Meanwhile, Gsellman has found trouble here in the fourth inning. A hit batsman and a long double for Kemp. And so after the Mets put up a 5 spot at the top of the inning, the Braves have a big threat now in the bottom of the inning.
Mets will play it back, give up the run.
Just texting my optometrist for a appointment tomorrow morning.
Well, you're flying out tomorrow, though.
Afternoon.
Good thing you don't have to fly the plane. Second and third and nobody out. Here's Markakis. Mets will play the infield back with a 6-1 lead. And Gsellman needs to settle back in. And the sinker is in for a strike.
So as a hitter right here, you're looking for something to pull. You want to drive in both, but the second option is you get the ball over, advance the runner on second base, and get the runner in.
And that'll get the run in. Walker throws out Markakis. Freeman comes in to score, and now it's 6-2 New York.
Boy, Markakis is a ball player, isn't he, Keith?
He's a good little journeyman player, boy. He plays good hitter, good fielder.
Not only did it get the run in, it got Kemp over to third base with 1 out. And again, the Mets will play the infield back. And Adonis Garcia, the batter. Garcia grounded out his first time up. And he hits a ground ball, and that will sneak up the middle for a base hit. Kemp comes in to score the second run of the inning. Adonis Garcia with an RBI single. And the Braves have shaved 2 off the Met lead. It's now 6-3.
This could be one of those games. Very fast infield. Down in BP earlier, the grass is cut real short. It's like a putting green out there, like most of the parks today. It's quick.
Well, judging by what we've seen so far from this ballpark, the way it carries, the way the ball moves through the infield, we might have some high-scoring games played here.
That's what they want today.
Flowers flied out his first time up. So Gesellman, who had settled down after giving up a leadoff home run to Inciarte in the first, has surrendered 2 runs here in the fourth. Flowers grounds a double play ball to Cabrera. Walker with the turn. 6-4-3 double play ends the inning. So Gesellman shuts off the spigot. He's got a 6-3 lead after 4. Field Saturday, June 24th. Original Grateful Dead members are united with an all-star cast, including John Mayer. For tickets, visit Mets.com/Dead&Company.
I saw them when they were traveling with Bruce Hornsby. It was pretty cool. So I wonder how it'll be with John Mayer.
So who's left?
My name, the name's Lesh.
Phil Lesh.
Yeah.
Here's your city problems for the remainder of this series. Matt Harvey goes tomorrow night against R.A. Dickey, who looks like he's okay after the quad injury he suffered at Citi Field. Jacob deGrom against Bartolo Colon Wednesday night. Zach Wheeler and Jaime Garcia on Thursday night. 7:30 games all here in Atlanta. The city has the worst traffic per capita of any city in the country, which is why they have to start games at 7:30. Jay Bruce leads off and takes a strike, and there's no public transportation to get you out to the ballpark.
When Keith and I played, every game was at 7:30. ABC games were on at 8:05. Friday night games 8:05. The only place that had 7 o'clock games or San Diego.
Yes, we loved it.
Right, but when you were playing 7:30 and 8 o'clock games, the games were lasting 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Well, they didn't tell us we were supposed to stay out there for 3 hours. They said get out as quick as you can. There's things to do.
Shea Stadium, Gary, back in the day, every Friday night was 8 o'clock.
Well, every game was
every 8 o'clock, right?
2 o'clock and 8 o'clock. But again, the games didn't take as long.
So can I tell you, we stayed when I first came up. We stayed on 6th Avenue, I believe it was, which was the old New York Sheraton back in the 70s. And then we moved over, obviously, to Grand Central at the Hyatt.
Well, that's when you were with the Cardinals.
That's right. So an 8 o'clock game was a 5 o'clock bus, right in the middle of rush hour.
You could have taken the subway earlier.
7 train right there downstairs.
I was petrified.
Jay Bruce strikes out on the changeup, and Tehran has his 4th strikeout of the night. After a bruising 4th inning, Tehran looking for an easier time here in the 5th. The slider got him.
This kid has no give up in him, so you might have got the runs against him 5 there in the 4th inning, but he's going to battle you.
Neil Walker drove in the first run in that 4th inning with a base hit up the middle. And a curveball in at the knees for a strike. Dialed it back to 69 miles an hour.
El Duque, right?
I was thinking Bugs Bunny. Anyway, with the 7:30 starts, in all 4 games in this series, no respite on Thursday. It means a very late arrival for the Mets home with a game at home Friday night.
Right. I've opted to overnight Thursday in Atlanta and get the around 12 noon flight. It gets me in at 2 something at LaGuardia and go right to the ballpark.
You'd rather that than getting home at 5 in the morning?
I can't do that. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself at the park at 2 o'clock there. I'm going to beat you.
Maybe they can use you to go out and set up Keith's Grill.
By the way, I already got the okay from the boss, Kurt Gowdy Jr.
To get there early?
To not go home with the team.
Oh. 3-1 to Walker, and that misses ball 4. There's the 3rd walk given up by Tehran. So 1 out and 1 on. Now Curtis Granderson, who walked his last time up. Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
So I've been trying to get adjusted to this whole no pitch intentional walk thing.
Okay.
Do you think the no pitch intentional walk makes managers more likely to intentionally walk people?
That's a good question.
No. I still think it's a tactical decision by the manager.
I just feel as though we've had more early in the season this year than we normally would have. And maybe that's just visceral, but that's the way it feels.
You know what it feels also? There's a lot of 7th place hitters being walked and 6th place hitters that wouldn't necessarily be walked before. Here's the move. Be careful over there, Neil Walker.
Tehran displayed a pickoff move to second base that went awry in the last inning, but he's got a great move to first.
I taught Roger my move, so maybe he taught it to Tehran.
Granderson pops one up. Garcia going out. Kemp coming in, and Kemp will get there. And that's the 2nd out. So Granderson's woes continue. 1 for his last 30. So 2 out. Walker still at first, and here's Reyes, who hit a drive to right center that Inciarte tracked down in the 2nd. Then he grounded out to drive in a run in the 4th. Braves had warm-up action going in the last inning, and they have warm-up action going again with Tehran due to bat 2nd when the Braves come to bat in the bottom of the 5th. And slider low and into Reyes, ball 1. It's not like he's throwing a lot of pitches, but Brian Snitker may be ready to hit for Tehran with his team down by 3.
Well, what I used to do if I had one of these days, and I'm sure I had thousands of them, but if you have a day like Tehran's having and you're a good pitcher, your next thought goes to this, Gary. Hold the team in the game. It's really 3-0, not 6-3. 3-run deficit. Hold your team in the game and give them some innings. Give them some length so they don't have to bring the bullpen in so early.
So Jason Mott up in the Atlanta bullpen. Two and one to Reyes.
Hey, we're back.
I'm glad we've gotten back to the call to the post.
They were trying to be fancy. It didn't work.
We were getting just a little out over our skis. That's lined and caught by Freeman.
Wow.
Another leaping grab on the Braves infield. First it was Phillips robbing Bruce, and now Freddie Freeman keeping Reyes' ball from going into the right field corner.
Why is he on the line?
Right place to be. Well, we posited the tweet of the game earlier. Why do you think Mets fans should be optimistic? And apparently there was some percentage of you who were not quite so optimistic.
Okay.
So, but for those of you who were, is that SHU senior like Seton Hall?
Yeah.
You're going too fast, guys. Never
geez.
got to the first one. DeGrom is a legit Cy Young contender. Clubhouse plays hard. Nice job. Mets girl says lots of season left. Heads up.
Love it.
Let's go back to the first one. It's only May 1st. 5 more months. All the hope in the world. See, that's the kind of optimism we need around here. Ronnie's got a skeptical look on his face.
Too optimism. Of course. I mean, this is be different if you were in what Atlanta started with last year. What was their record? They had like a 3-20 working, didn't they?
What got Freddie Gonzalez fired early last season. Well, the Mets certainly battled through plenty of injuries last year to get to the wild card, and the Dodgers, by some measures, had even more injury issues last season, including their best pitcher on the disabled list for more than 2 months. Johnson hits a comebacker. And Gesellman makes the play for the first out. Well, Tehran's going to stand and bat for himself. Down 6-3, fifth inning, but with a low pitch count. Brian Snitker wants to get more out of him, and he'll keep him in the game.
I don't mind this move. I think it's a good move.
I do too. It's a 3-run ball game.
Yep. Someone's got 10 outs with the double play on the ground so far.
He's got a low pitch count of his own. Has not struck out a batter tonight. Almost everything has been a ground ball. And Tehran taking all the way, and it's 2-0. Keep taking till you get a strike.
Took me a while to find the pitch counts and the stuff here in the ballpark, but I found it.
Topped foul, and it's 2-2. Well, it's on the screen, you know.
No, I know, but sometimes it takes a while to. I don't know if you know this, but today's ballpark has a lot of advertising.
Herrera running around the backhand, recovers, and safe at first.
Cannot.
Well, Cabrera a little slow going to his right that time, and then the bobble cost him the play.
It's got to be an E6. It's a routine ground ball. It's got to be an E6. You never know today's scorekeepers.
You know, also there's certain pitchers you can do this because you got plenty of time, but not Tehran. He's a good athlete.
By the way, the Mets do not have the option of challenging because they wasted their challenge on the hit batsman of Freddie Freeman in the last inning, which was clearly not the right move. And Inciarte is 2 for 2. Homered leading off the first inning, his second career leadoff home run, and then he singled to left in the third. So each team has now made one error tonight.
Like Gary said, a tit for a tat here. High fastball up, out over the plate. Tied the ball game at that point.
After Michael Conforto led off the top of the first with a home run, and Inciarte with the equalizer. And he fouls that one off d'Arnaud. 2-1.
It's an interesting point of the inning and game for Walker to come over to speak to Gesellman, isn't it?
I think he's just giving a moment to d'Arnaud to feel a little better after getting that shot.
Usually it's the umpire who does that.
Tehran at first we've seen him used as a pinch runner. Not as many times as Al Jackson.
What'd you say, 51 was the number?
51.
Yes, I heard that.
Is that great?
Yes.
One of my favorite people in the game.
He blew the field away.
Yeah, Dick Selma was second.
It's not my fault. Rusty just needs to get on more.
Well, they could have run it for somebody else.
I mean, Rusty had 22 hits, I think, as a pinch hitter one season. That was crazy.
That was phenomenal. How many in a row did he get? He broke the record.
He had, was it 8 in a row?
Yeah, he got it off Ron Reed.
There's ball 4, and Inciarte is on for the third straight time. First walk of the night issued by Gesellman, and that'll get the tying run to the plate for the Braves here in the fifth. So now Brandon Phillips has been up twice and hit the ball on the ground both times. Zellman has already generated one ground ball double play tonight. He could use another now with Freddie Freeman standing on deck. Tehran at second and Inciarte at first with one out. And a slider strike to Phillips.
Got to get this out. Or try to get a ground ball out.
Nice double play would be
better.
what the doctor ordered.
Out to left. Conforto's right there waiting. And that's the second out. So there's a big second out for Gesellman, but he still has to get through Freddie Freeman.
You got away with a hanger right there, Ronnie. A little bit too quick.
Yep.
Phillips on the swing.
Freeman has hit a comebacker and then was grazed on the pant leg by a pitch and scored a run in the fourth. Freeman has taken a very strong early liking to SunTrust Park. First player in Major League history with that many home runs and that few RBIs in the month of April. He's had very few opportunities with runners in scoring position. Through the first 7 games that the Braves have played here at SunTrust Park, Freeman hitting .524 with 3 home runs. So yeah, I think he likes it here. Hansel Robles, Josh Edgen up in the Mets bullpen. Big spot here for Gesellman behind on Freeman 2-0 with 2 aboard. Robert went just 4 innings against the Braves his last time out, gave up 6 runs and 10 hits in that start. And that goes past Tarnot to the backstop. Now the runner gets hung off.
That's it.
Tehran between second and third, and Inciarte between first and second. And now they get Tehran going to third, and that's the last out of the inning. A huge break for the Mets as Tehran was indecisive as the ball bounced back to d'Arnaud, and the Mets get the third out in the rundown after 5, 6-3 New York. Here we go to the 6th inning. The Mets with a 6-3 lead. Julio Teheran, after being tagged out on the bases after some indecisiveness, back to the mound for the 6th.
Well, in talking to the people that do the games here, they said it's very unpredictable. Sometimes it bounces completely away from the catcher. Sometimes it bounces straight back to the catcher. So the Mets and d'Arnaud caught a big break.
Well, so many of these newer ballparks, the backstop is so close to home plate that as a base runner, it's less definitive now as to whether you can move up on a ball that gets by.
I honestly think to make it fair, there should be padding back there. So if the ball goes past the catcher, he's got to go back there and get it. And a run can score or runners can advance.
Well, d'Arnaud, who had that ball bounce right back to him, leads off against Teheran and fouls back the fastball.
You shouldn't be able to make a mistake like this and take advantage of it.
Well, I think Teheran made the right move.
Yeah.
He'd have been thrown out.
But Inciarte ran too far for Teheran to retreat.
Boy, d'Arnaud threw a lollipop to shortstop.
DJ Rivera on deck, and then the pitcher spot for the Mets. That's that warm-up action going in the last inning. Popped up. Freeman coming into foul ground. And that retires d'Arnaud, one away. They're your team. Take them with you. Watch every SNY Mets game on the go on any device all season long with live streaming presented by Verizon. Just download the NBC Sports app or visit SNY.TV, your new home for live streaming coverage of every SNY Mets game. TJ Rivera had a base hit to center field to drive in a run in the Mets' 5-run 4th inning. And takes a curveball for a strike from Teheran. Well, Gesellman is out on deck. No action in the Mets bullpen, so it looks like Robert will get the 6th inning. It would have been fascinating to see how that inning would have progressed and that ball not come back to d'Arnaud like that. If the runners get to 2nd and 3rd, what do you do then?
It's 3-0, right? You're saying on.
Well, the wild pitch would have been ball 3.
You would have had to walk Freeman to get to Kemp.
And pitch to Kemp.
Who just hit a bullet to center field for a double.
Got to take your chances. Freddie's too red hot.
So you put in the tying run on base. Popped up on the right side, and Phillips waiting for it. 2 out. At that point, would you have taken Gesellman out, or would you and brought Robles in, or would Gesellman have stayed in to face Kemp?
Boy, I mean, what are you trying to do? In the long run, you're trying to make Mr. Gesellman, the 23-year-old, a better pitcher.
Stay with Gesellman. I wouldn't even think about bringing in a reliever.
Well, they had 2 guys up. That's why I asked.
Freeman get a base hit, he might be out of the game now.
Gesellman's 0 for 2 at the plate. Last time up, he hit a bullet to the second baseman that was caught. That was with the bases loaded in the 4th inning.
It's always nice to see a pitcher who has one bad inning settle in and keep his team in the game.
Keep his composure.
Yep.
Gesellman takes a strike, and it's 2-2.
See how quickly Teheran works. It's nice to see. No wasted motion. Get the sign. Let's go.
Strike 3 called. Inning over. 5th strikeout for Teheran as he gets the Mets 1-2-3 in the top of the 6th. Freeman will lead off as we go to the bottom of the 6th. Need a break from the game? How about a zip line in the ballpark? That's a new one.
Come on. Jeez, what about, I got a novel idea. Why don't you pay for your ticket, you sit in your seat, and you watch Major League Baseball?
I want to try that zip line, by the way. What's Gelbsy doing the next 3 days?
And there's a rock climbing wall.
I like that too.
See, there's a generation gap between Ronnie and I.
How can there be? We're only about 5 or 6 years. We're close.
Freeman rockets one to deep right center field. Back goes Bruce in the gap. He won't get there, and it short hops the wall. Freeman to second, and he'll pull in there with a leadoff double, which makes the out on the bases to end the fifth loom even larger.
Yes. High pitch, belt high on it. Freddie got that almost a hockey swing. I want to say one of the closest ones to Richie Hebner's swing, that open stance hockey swing, the old Pittsburgh Pirate, and one of Gary's favorite Mets.
I bet you that if you had that test for hand-eye coordination, Freeman would win them all. Just a natural hitter.
Well, remember the bad start he got off to last year, but since about the 1st of June last year, there's been no better hitter in the league than Freddie Freeman. Hansel Robles back to work in the Mets bullpen as Matt Kemp steps in against Gesellman. Kemp hit a double off the top of the fence in center field in the 4th. Braves challenged, thought it was a home run, but it did actually hit the padding and stay in. But Kemp continues to rake against the Mets. A great series against the Mets in New York to start the year. Then he hurt his hamstring, was on the DL for a while. But even with that, Kemp has had a terrific beginning to his season.
A little displeased with that first pitch strike call. Kemp.
Chad Fairchild, the home plate umpire. Braves now with 5 hits against Gesellman.
Hasn't really established his breaking ball or his changeup. It's really been his sinking fastball that's been his best pitch.
Nick Markakis on deck. Hit the other way, and that's a foul ball. Just
barely
missed. First base umpire David Rackley paused a beat as Kemp broke his bat and almost wound up with a soft hit.
You know what I like about Rackley there, Keith, is that he didn't move out of the way. A lot of first base umpires try to move out of the way while they're making the call. He just stood his ground.
But he didn't point
emphatically
foul ball. He just kind of very nonchalantly. Ho hum.
He's got an 86 as his number. He can't be that bad.
Rackley 86. Too laid back to play with you guys. And a foul ball. Kemp just got a piece of that breaking ball.
I must say, it's just a really pleasant night tonight.
Very un-Atlanta-ish.
It was Atlanta-ish this morning.
It was raining.
Raining and windy.
And that big front came through. It was windy and raining in sheets.
Freeman at second and nobody out. 2-2 to Kemp. And he fouls that one away.
He's throwing mostly sliders and fastballs away. He made a mistake with a slider that stayed inside. I don't think Robert throws enough in. He should come in here. Let's see if he does.
2-2. Out to right field. Bruce going back. Over his head. Freeman to third. He's going to be held up there. Kemp into second as the throw comes into the plate. Freeman held up, and he's a little annoyed at third base coach Ron Washington for not sending him.
It's a little embarrassing when you're on second base and you don't score on a double, which we're seeing more and more. Just base to base. Nice play by Bruce off the wall, barehanded. See, Freddie it's Freddie's fault making the mistake. There's no reason to come back towards second. You go halfway and you plant, and you look, and then you see it fall, you walk home.
So back-to-back doubles for Freeman and Kemp. Second and third and nobody out. Terry Collins on his way out to the mound, and that's going to be all for Robert Gsellman. Terry trying to squeeze an extra inning out of Gsellman, unable to get an out in the sixth. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon.
Bruce made a really nice play off the right center field wall in that Kemp double. You're seeing it right now. And part of what he was able to learn before the game today was how to handle something like that. The guys were taking fly balls off of that wall to see just how big the carom was off of it. Clearly, Bruce saw that there wasn't a big carom. He could get close to the wall. But also, that 375, that marker, it's a line of demarcation in this particular park where the padding doesn't go circular around. It's almost jutting inwards and outwards. So if it hits to the left, the Georgia power sign, the ball bounces towards second base. But if not, like you saw on that ball, it bounces towards center field. And that's what we saw from Bruce right there, recognizing that.
Of course, you got the padding, then you have the bricks above it, so it's a little tricky out there. Meanwhile, Josh Edgin in to pitch to Nick Markakis. Second and third, nobody out. The infield back. And a roller to the right side. That'll get another run in. Markakis for the second time drives in a run with a ground ball. And now the Met lead is cut to 6-4, and over to third goes Kemp. Second time Markakis has done exactly that.
Those are easy RBIs.
And now Terry Collins will make another move and bring in a right-hander to face Adonis Garcia. So Edgin throws two pitches, gets one out. And now Hansel Robles will come in to replace him. 6-4 Mets in the sixth. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon. sports writers. We'll have a preview of tomorrow's Rangers Game 3 at the Garden. Plus, get you ready for Matt Harvey's start here in Atlanta on Daily News Live, presented by Citi, tomorrow at 5, only on SNY. Also, Robles' last 2 outings have both been terrific.
Well, he's also been kind of the lucky charm for the Mets. 4-0 on the season because of that good ERA, and has to get out of this jam here in the 6th.
Kemp at 3rd and 1 out. Adonis Garcia the batter. The infield remains back. Garcia drove in a run with a base hit his last time up, and he grounds the first pitch foul and comes up hobbling.
Fouls it off his foot.
Oh, knee. That hurts.
They say don't rub it.
Why do they say don't rub it?
He always used to tell you, don't rub it. Don't show that it hurts. Don't rub it.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
But that's when men were supposed to hide their emotions. Now we've evolved as a species.
Really?
No. It's
Are you
good
hiding your emotions?
It's good to show your emotions.
Is that right?
It's healthier. If you keep it in, you get all tense.
I don't come from that kind of family. We keep everything in. We don't tell anybody anything.
Just don't show any pain.
No, don't show any pain. I mean, I've got something seriously wrong. I can't express it. Can't share it.
Is pain an emotion, Gary?
Well,
I don't think it's a reaction.
The expression of pain is emotion. It is an emotion.
Okay, if you get your heart broken.
Show of weakness.
Your heart broke.
Point?
I think you do most of the heartbreaking, to tell the truth.
Well, Garcia's heart is back in the batter's box. Hits this one out to right center. Back goes Bruce deep in the gap. He'll make the catch. Tagging at 3rd and trotting on in is Matt Kemp. And all of a sudden this is a 1-run game. So in the 4th and again here in the 6th, the Braves have done a great job cashing in their opportunities.
Yes.
Each time they had 2nd and 3rd and nobody out, and got both runs home. This time each of them scoring on an out.
Well, I tell you what, if you're playing this ballpark, you better reconsider playing a shallow outfield. This ball is flying.
We saw it on the ball that Kemp hit. It really traveled, and again for Garcia. So now the Met lead is 6-5. 2 out and nobody on for Tyler Flowers.
Well, this Atlanta team doesn't have the kind of power and home run hitters the Mets have, so they have to do the little things. They're doing them tonight.
And we saw that in the series last week at Citi Field too. I mean, they did a great job of situational hitting, and they have again in this game. And it's really reflective of their hitting coach, Kevin Seitzer. His last outing was just tremendous Saturday night in D.C. Pitched an inning and 2/3 and struck out 4. Up the middle and into center field, a base hit for Flowers. And now the Braves have the tying run aboard with 2 out. Flowers, who came into the game a hot hitter, has his first hit of the night. And now Dansby Swanson, who's 0 for 2, flied out and hit a comebacker. It has been a very rough go for Swanson. And a slider to start him off, 0-1. Lane Adams has come out on deck. He'll pinch hit if Swanson keeps the inning going. Ian Kroll was up in the Atlanta bullpen, left-hander. And that skips into Darno, and it's 1-1. Swanson looked so good late last season, but it has been very hard for him to get going offensively.
Boy, that 2nd year, you're starting from scratch instead of in the middle, getting called up, in a groove.
His fielding had been outstanding until yesterday when he made an error that cost the Braves a win.
Well, I also think he hit a little higher in the lineup last year. Hitting in that 8th slot is always challenging. It doesn't matter who you are as a hitter. And I think it's the most challenging for a young hitter these days because the book on you comes out quick.
I mean, it used to be once around the league. Now it takes 3 days.
That's right.
And everybody's got the video and the tendencies and the chase rate and the whole 9 yards. Flowers at first with 2 down, 2-2 to Swanson. And that's out off the plate, and it's 3-2. So a steady diet of sliders for Swanson from Hansel Robles. There's Lane Adams on deck to pinch hit. So now Rivera will play behind Flowers at first base. He'll be on the move. Three-two coming, and it's too high. Ball 4. So now the tying and go-ahead runs are on base, and Lane Adams will be the pinch hitter. And Dan Warthen making the trip to the mound. Jerry Blevins up in the Mets bullpen with the left-hand hitting Inciarte on deck.
Boy, it just seems like every game the pitchers that you expect to be in the game later and later are coming in earlier and earlier.
Well, at least the Mets bullpen is a little more rested today and reinforced with Kevin Plawecki having soaked up the last 2 innings yesterday in Washington, and the Mets calling up Paul Sewald to replace Noah Syndergaard on the active roster. They've got an extra reliever. So here's Adams, who had a cup of coffee with Kansas City a few years ago. 1 for 3 in his trial with the Braves. 2 on and 2 out. Mets nursing a 6-5 lead now in the 6th. And Adams lines one to center field. Granderson coming on, sliding, and he made the catch. Curtis Granderson coming on to save Hansel Robles. Granderson sliding into shallow center to keep the Mets in the lead. And Robles happy with that result. Mets lead at 6-5 going to the 7th. 25-year-old lefty Ian Kroll on to pitch the 7th for the Braves.
Oh, big numbers so far this season for Ian Kroll. Good arm. He's had trouble putting the ball where he wants to.
Michael Conforto's had a big night already. A leadoff home run in the first, a 2-run single in the 4th. Conforto 2 for 3 with 3 driven in. Now 7 for 16 with 8 RBIs in 4 games on this road trip. And the slider misses down from Kroll, ball and a strike.
Looking more comfortable at the plate, and even more comfortable, Gary, recently off the left-handers. He's getting to play against them now. And it's a must.
Slowly hit. Kroll snags it. 1 out. Now it's Dribble Cabrera, who's 1 for 3. He got the Mets started in that 5-run 4th inning with a base hit off the wall in right field. Mets held a 6-1 lead after that 5-run inning, and the Braves have steadily chipped away.
I mean, it's so funny to watch the fielders come in and talk to the pitcher, because he had that, that 32-yard sprint there to first base. I mean, you got to catch your breath before that next pitch. Tough times. Never understand it.
Next thing you know, they'll be bringing oxygen.
If you can't make that little run off the mound and underhand it to the first baseman, and you need a blow, obviously before the game, probably not doing as many sprints as you should.
Well, they don't run anymore, right?
They run, but they have,
most of the bikes
staggered kind of. They have a whole program, Keith. You got to have a program,
Well, I thought it was the sprints that were in vogue now, intervals.
That's right.
So that should prepare you to make that short burst to first base.
Well, pitching is a short burst of energy, so they believe that works for pitching. We used to run long distance because you know what happens in long distance? You start out and you feel really great, and then in the middle it really hurts and it's painful, and at the end you're so excited that you accomplished something. Oh, that's almost like pitching 9 innings. Same thing.
It would appear as though we're not working on training for 9 innings anymore.
You're right about that. It says go as hard as you can, as long as you can.
And of course, that's the difference too. If you're throwing 100 miles an hour in the first inning, it's hard to get to the 8th inning. 3-1 to Cabrera with Bruce on deck, and it's pulled foul.
If I threw 100 miles an hour, or as hard as I could, for as long as I could in my Mets career, I would have been making doorknobs in Millbury by like 1988.
Well, and I think the relevant question about that, especially today, is does throwing max effort from the start of a game make pitchers more susceptible to injury?
Of course it does. I'm asked all the time, and I think, listen, it's fun to watch these guys throw so hard. It's one of the most amazing things, but it's just a different philosophy in pitching. In our day, you wanted to go out there and maybe a half dozen times a day, 110 to 125 pitches, you would add as much as you could on to a Mike Schmidt, to a Keith Hernandez, to get out of a big situation. But you certainly wouldn't do that all game. You never thought you could do it and last the whole game. But you can do it now, because really only have to last for 2 hours.
Well, the question is, if you took a guy, let's say like a Syndergaard, and if he dialed it back a little bit and threw 95 with regularity and threw 99, 100 when he had to, does that mean necessarily he'd be able to go deeper in games?
Think about it this way. There is a guy that does it, that pitches right now for the Detroit Tigers. And he started by pitching 92 to 95 in the first 5 innings. And as the game wore on, then he started to go from 95 to 100. He's done all right, Justin Verlander.
There just aren't that many of those guys around anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, we used to marvel at a guy like Livan Hernandez, who'd be throwing 84 in the first inning and then 92 when he had to.
Right. It's quite a gift. I'm sure it works the same for guys that are power hitters. In the sense that if you can hit the ball out of the ballpark since you're a kid, sometimes you don't learn how to hit correctly because all you concentrate is how far can I hit it instead of being able to be a good hitter first and then the power will come. Keith, you learned how to hit correctly first.
Well, what's interesting in Little League, there was always a couple big guys that were already almost 6 feet tall. They were bigger and stronger than the other kids, and then they moved to the upper levels. They stayed at 6 feet, and everybody else caught up to them. And then they couldn't hit the ball out by the Little League distance anymore.
Cabrera picked off and tagged out by Freeman. So the snap throw by Kroll, and that's the second out of the inning.
That's got to be a concentration thing.
Oh, it was a late break back. Very late reaction from Cabrera.
We don't see that snap throw from left-handed pitchers as much anymore, and maybe Struble hasn't either.
So just like that, Kroll has 2 out and nobody on, and a 1-2 count to Jay Bruce, who has a double in 3 trips tonight. And he strikes out on the slider in the dirt. No effort to run to first base. Side retired. 7th inning stretch time. 6-5 New York. Harrison's best thing going in that Pirate lineup right now with everybody else struggling. Meanwhile, we go to the bottom of the 7th here. Mets with a 6-5 lead, and Jerry Blevins will come in to start the bottom of the 7th.
Well, Jerry has been, I think, with Edgin and Josh Smoker. Boy, it was the lefties have been strengths on this ball club.
Ender Inciarte leads off the home 7th, bluffs a bunt, takes a strike. Blevins' last assignment was to come in and face Bryce Harper Saturday night, and he struck him out with a curveball.
He was struck Harper twice in that series.
Inciarte on base 3 times in a row. Home run, single walk tonight. Reyes and Rivera in tight at the corners. And a foul tip on a fastball, and it's 0-2.
Jerry, in the rare instance, looks like he might be asked to pitch an entire inning here.
Well, you got Phillips, a right-hand batter on deck, but then Freeman, the big lefty behind him. And nobody up in the Mets bullpen. Inciarte just got a piece of the curveball to stay alive. People's United Bank brings you tonight's starters. Mets got to Julio Teheran in a way they rarely have. 6 runs in 6 innings. But the Braves able to rebound against Robert Gsellman. 5 runs in 5 innings.
Just, again, a lot of emphasis on the bullpen. 12 outs. It's a lot to ask every day.
And the curveball pulled foul. Well, you could add on runs too.
Well, you could add on runs, but still, I mean, it's a lot to ask of the bullpen. 12 outs, it seems like each and every night.
Inciarte staying alive.
You know, there's 1,450 innings approximately, right, in the course of the season that you're going to have to pitch. You're hoping that your starters can accumulate 1,000 of that. Met starters aren't even close to getting to that mark.
Well, and once you take frontline starters out of the equation, that makes it even more difficult.
Right.
Inciarte again able to waste one away. I'll tell you what, we saw him struggle offensively in that first series the Braves played in New York to open the season. This is a really good hitter.
Yeah, he's a good player too. It just came out of the box slow. He was really pulling off the ball. He's pulling off a little, but you got to give him a break. It's against Jerry Blevins, a little tougher mark. Lefty.
7th pitch of the at bat coming, and he struck him out. Blevins went to the changeup to get Inciarte for the first out of the inning.
Well, as much as Inciarte was fighting in this at bat and hanging in there, I think that Blevins was in complete command at that at bat. Inciarte gets a little stiff against the left-handers, but he's a good hitter. I'm in your camp, guys.
So here's Brandon Phillips, who started the night with a 13-game hitting streak. He's gone 0 for 3 tonight.
We'll watch Phillips' first pitch late. Likes to jump on a first pitch fastball.
So you bounce one.
Well, first Brave to strike out. Gary, you were mentioning the Braves are very difficult to strike out this season.
Second toughest in the National League, but the Mets have not had fewer than 6 strikeouts as a staff in any game this year. Gsellman didn't strike out anybody, neither did Edgin nor Robles, and now Blevins puts up the first one. Curveball fouled off. 1-1.
I like that shot of Blevins with the ball twirling in his hand. It's almost like he's a safe cracker. The tumbling of the numbers.
Well, he's going to have to figure out how to crack the code of Freddie Freeman, who has given him fits. Freeman's waiting on deck. First the 1-1 to Phillips. In the air to center field. Easy for Granderson. 2 out. So Blevins gets Freeman exactly where he wants him with 2 out and the bases empty. But Freeman has had Blevins' number. Freddie is 7 for 13 against Blevins.
Wow.
I mean, there aren't too many left-hand hitters who've had that kind of success against Jerry Blevins.
Any lefties you own, Keith? You remember?
A lot owned me.
But when Keith played, there was no such thing as a lefty specialist. There was no lefty coming out of the bullpen to face you late in the game.
Terry Forster wasn't a lefty specialist? No?
Yeah, there was, Gary.
But he was more,
Gary Lavelle.
But those were all full inning guys. They didn't come in to face one batter, so
right.
they weren't lefty specialists.
But they came in tight situations. Remember, those saves that weren't the 9th inning saves, they would come in with men on base in the 8th.
Right, but my point is they weren't brought in just to get the left-hand hitter. They weren't like a Jerry Blevins, who was a lefty specialist. They were relievers who were lefties.
And there was a lot of good ones.
Interesting. Freddie sat on that curveball and just missed it pitch prior.
2-1 to Freeman. And the curveball, big swing and a miss, 2-2. Jerry seemed to get away from that curveball last year, but boy, it's been a weapon early this year.
Got him out in front.
Just can't leave it on the inner part.
And going right back to it. Struck him out. Freeman waving at the curve in the dirt. Throws away the bat and helmet in frustration. And Jerry Blevins has himself a 1-2-3 7th with a couple of strikeouts. Still 6-5 New York. UG pitchcast.
Both breaking balls, as you'll see, are chased out of the strike zone.
Kroll getting Bruce and Blevins getting Freeman. And Ian Kroll continues on into the 8th to face Neil Walker. Walker had an RBI single in the 4th that snapped an 0 for 13 stretch. Then he drew a walk in the 5th, 1 for 2 on the night. Mets had a 6-1 lead in this game, 6-5 as we start the 8th. Walker, Granderson, and Reyes trying to add to it. And Walker pops one up. Phillips waiting for it to come down. 1 out. Now Kroll will face Curtis Granderson with 1 out. Here's your Mets box score brought to you by Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. Big night for Michael Conforto, a leadoff home run, a 2-run single. Walker, Reyes, and Rivera with the other RBIs. As the Mets put a rare hurting on Julio Teheran. Granderson's 0 for 2 and a walk. Ball and a strike. Addison Reed, who has had a troubled week, trying to put it behind him as he gets ready for the bottom of the 8th. And Granderson gets jammed and fouls one off his foot. 1-2.
Used to be a pitcher in the 80s who pitched 70s and 80s, pitched for Chicago Cubs. Frank DePino. He reminds me of Frank DePino's mechanics.
Frank had that funky raise the shoulders herky jerky to a degree. He had decent stuff.
This guy just throws hard.
And Hard inside there, 2-2.
His front leg will cross over. If you watch his front leg, folks, it'll cross over. He uses no lower body, and he just all upper body, stiff front leg, and throws 95. Great arm.
First saw him with the Nationals. And he moved on to Detroit, now in his second year with the Braves.
He was like another high draft pick like Josh Smoker around that time. Oh, nice shot of the field. There's a camera, I think, on top of one of the business buildings. I won't say the business building because I don't know if I'll get people angry at me. But I know there's a camera up there, and it takes the shots, and it can zoom in to within 3 feet of someone.
I'm trying to think why anyone would get angry at you.
Well,
go ahead, Ronnie. It's there. That's right. Everybody can see it.
But on this, program, sometimes you say something that, all up in arms, and get the calls, emails, conferences.
Kroll strikes out Granderson, 2 out. Well, when we put our booth together, we try and make it as pretty as possible for these shots in the booth. But there's a black drape there that generally covers up the booth next door. But the folks in the booth next door have decided to pull back the drape, and so we can see in. Hi, Chip. Let's say Reyes pops one foul. Freeman on the move, and he can't get to it. It's always nice to be able to include our colleagues from the other team on our broadcast.
Well, but normally this was closed here, but it's on their side, and Chip opened it.
Chip loves to be on camera, so if he's not on camera for Fox Sports West, he's going to be camera for us. It works out perfectly. Come on, Chip.
He waved once.
What do you want? It's Chip and Joe Simpson and Tommy Glavine.
Glavine's in there, Reyes screws himself into the ground, and it's 0-2.
You know what happens in our broadcast whenever we do stuff like that? You know what they think over there? God, we would never do that over here. I mean, we'd never show those guys.
Chip will be grateful.
Yes, he will. He likes his
Gonna get more FaceTime.
He likes it.
Wait till they turn the tables on you.
He's a good man. I've worked with him a lot.
Kroll's got Reyes all off balance during this at bat.
I mean, if you had a family of announcers, Chip's family is right up there, aren't they? With any family that's ever had to do baseball games.
Too many who can compete for the 3 generations of the Carries. From Harry to Skip to Chip. There is a great photo blown up as you enter the press area here of Skip Carey, Ernie Johnson, and Pete Van Wieren.
I took a picture and I sent it to Ernie Johnson. He was so grateful.
You sent it to Ernie Jr.
Ernie Jr., who's spending all of his time with the NBA right now.
That's laced down the line, a foul ball.
So grateful. Chip told me a story about Harry. Chip was playing Little League ball, and Harry wanted to come and watch him play. And it was one of those complexes that had 4 fields. So Harry came, and Chip could see him come, and Harry sat down, and people were all over him because Harry is very popular. And Chip played his game, and Harry sat in the stands at the wrong field, not at Chip's field, because he was inundated with so many fans.
Deep to left, Kemp going back to the warning track near that short fence, leaping, and it's gone. A home run for Reyes. That is an area in this ballpark where you can rob home runs, but Addison Reed catches his 2nd home run ball on this road trip. He caught the one Conforto hit in Washington the other night, and now Reed snags one that Reyes hits out of the ballpark as Reyes hits his 3rd of the year, and the Mets regain a 2-run lead.
Pretty good at bat by Jose right here. Fought off a lot of tough pitches. Down and in breaking ball. Let go with one hand. Pretty fine at bat. Big insurance run.
Nice effort by Kemp, but Addison Reed gives him a big smile. You didn't get it, big boy. I did. Addison Madison's becoming an expert at this.
What a great add-on run. Woo.
That's an area, though, where there are going to be a lot of home runs robbed. It's only a 6-foot fence in left field. But Kemp comes up empty. Reyes' home run makes it 7-5 Mets. Braves make a pitching change. We'll be right back. '26-year-old Arodys Vizcaíno comes out of the bullpen for Atlanta.
You know, he hasn't pitched since he held a game, the last game against the Mets in that great series for the Braves.
Goes after Travis d'Arnaud with a high fastball.
This kid throws hard, real hard. 12 strikeouts, only 3 walks. That's good. Throws so hard, shirt comes out of his belt buckle.
Got to do the retuck. Pulled down to third, flattens out for Garcia, and the low throw handled by Freeman, and that retires the side. But Jose Reyes with his 3rd home run of the year gives the Mets a little breathing room. 7-5 going to the bottom of the 8th. Game 2 of this series tomorrow night. Mets will send Matt Harvey to the mound. Our coverage begins at 6:30, I believe. 7:30 start. 6:30 for Cadillac first pitch tomorrow night on SNY.
Look at you. You edit as you go. Very nice.
Just trying to keep up. Juan Lagares in to play center field. He'll bat ninth. Addison Reed trying to bounce back from a couple of subpar performances in Washington.
Well, he needs a 1-2-3 performance, and he needs to keep the ball in the ballpark.
He needs to not face Ryan Zimmerman is what he needs.
Yeah, right.
Give up home runs to Zimmerman each of his last 2 outings. Ryan Zimmerman's a pretty good bet for National League Player of the Month.
Lock. A lock.
Matt Kemp has a pair of doubles tonight. Hit the first one off the top of the fence in center field. Hit the second one to right. So he continues to scorch extra base hits against the Mets. And he hits Reed's first pitch past him and into center field for a base hit. So Reed off to another rocky beginning.
How about Kemp's numbers against the Mets so far this year? Oh, he tried to reach for it with his bare hand.
Didn't think he missed. Kemp now 4 for 9 in his career against Reed, and now Nick Markakis will be the tying run at the plate. Markakis is 0 for 3 tonight, but 2 of his ground ball outs have driven in runs. Reed has now given up 4 home runs this year, matching the total he gave up all of last year. Now, you know, you can make the argument last year was a magical season for him, but the velocity is the same. What's the difference?
Well, you know, he's an aggressive pitcher by nature. I've seen his velocity dip just a bit in my estimation, and also one of the things that changed for Reed for me last year is that Worthen really worked on his slider during spring training. He threw it a lot last year, and he just threw it there to Markakis, and he was very effective with it. He didn't throw it a lot, but he was very effective when he did throw it. It's been mostly a fastball pitcher so far this year.
I think his slider has gotten a little too flat. So he's trying to get that downward tilt. It's important to get that downward tilt, but it makes it more difficult to throw it for a strike.
Yeah.
Adonis Garcia on deck. Kemp at first and nobody out. 1-2 to Markakis. Struck him out. Went right back to the slider to get the first out of the inning.
That was a good one right there.
It certainly was.
Some people think it's where your arm angle is, and it's not. It's where your hand angle is. If he drops his hand, it's going to be flat. If he gets on top of it, even if he throws from the side, because he throws across his body, it can still be a good one. That was a good one.
Now Adonis Garcia, who's driven in 2 runs tonight with a single and a sacrifice fly. And a knee-high strike from Reed, 0-1.
This is the wild card in the lineup for me. If you asked me how to pitch Adonis Garcia, I would have no idea. He can hit the ball off his shoe tops, and he can throw one down the middle, and he won't even swing at it.
He's got only 1 hit in 9 career at-bats against Reed, but that one was a home run. And Garcia skies one to shallow right. In comes Bruce. 2 out. Well, we were talking about that slider to Markakis. Here's the grip.
But watch his hand. See how his arm is 3/4? His hand is on top of the ball. And if you're on top of it as opposed to underneath it, the ball will take that right turn. It'll go from top to bottom as opposed to side to side. Side to side, Keith will tell you, hitters kill.
So now 2 out. Here's Tyler Flowers, who's 1 for 3, singled his last time up.
See, that's the slider that's been getting him in trouble.
Yep.
Geico Sports Night tonight after the post game. All the baseball news. Rangers down 2-0 to Ottawa. The other Rangers had a brawl tonight with the Astros.
They did.
And basketball news as well. Geico Sports Night tonight after the post game. That Texas-Houston rivalry is really taken off.
It might have been premeditated because the Astros have been killed by the Rangers the last 2 seasons. It's really held them from being in postseason last year.
Well, the Astros are a really good team this year.
Yes, they are.
Dallas Keuchel's off to a Cy Young kind of a start, 5-0 with an ERA just over 1.
We're gonna the Mets are going to see them in Houston this year, right?
In September we go to Houston. First time since they moved to the American League, I think, that we've seen the Astros, or that we've gone to Houston. 1-2 coming. And a swing and a miss. He chased the fastball away. A couple of strikeouts in the inning for Addison Reed, and a nice bounce back. That'll send us to the 9th, 7-5 New York. We're going to the 9th inning here in Atlanta. Brand new ballpark. We're actually in Smyrna, Georgia, but what's a few miles between friends? Some of the accoutrements here at SunTrust Park. TJ Rivera leads off against Jason Mott, the pride of Valley Central High School and Iona College.
Jason, of course, probably made his biggest mark as a closer for the St. Louis Cardinals on that team in 2011. World champions.
42 saves in 2012, then Tommy John surgery, and he's been battling ever since. Cardinals, Cubs, Rockies, and now his first year in Atlanta. And he turns TJ Rivera away, 1-2. TJ 1 for 3, drove in a run with a 4th inning single.
For a while, there were so many former catchers that were closers. Jason Mott was one. Kenley Jansen, of course, out there in Los Angeles.
Late swing foul. Juan Lagares is hitting in the 9th spot. He's on deck. Then Michael Conforto with Jerry's Familia up in the bullpen, getting ready for a save chance. Well, it's nice to see Addison Reed have a little better inning.
Especially after giving up the first pitch fastball for a hit. After that, he was nails.
TJ watches the slider outside, 2-2.
It's funny, Jason Mott doesn't even look like the same person without that big Mr. Smith's cough drop beard.
Well, you heard what happened, right?
Yeah, right.
His daughter shaved his beard off. Grounded down to third. Running throw by Garcia. A good play to get Rivera one out.
Garcia's looked better this year, Keith.
Yes, he has.
Defensively than he did last.
He's looked a lot more comfortable. Nice play right there.
So it wasn't listening because he hit it. He was in the minor league, so he had to shave it?
Well, his daughter shaved it for him,
Yeah.
and then said, that looks awful. Grow it back. And so he's growing it back.
Oh, I love my kids. I would never let them touch my face with a razor.
Basically saying, Dad, you're a million.
Well, imagine if you're his 4.5-year-old daughter and you've never seen your father without that big beard, right? So now she's gotten a look and
didn't like what she saw.
She wants the old guy back. Well, Lagares up for the first time, came out on the double switch. And a ground out and a walk in yesterday's game in Washington.
Quick pitch.
Everybody does that now. Even Steven Strasburg.
He puts his feet almost together. Oh, that quick pitch, though. Stays so closed.
Little bloop, shallow right, coming on is Markakis, but it'll fall. Lagares going to try for two. The throw by Markakis on the money, and a good slide by Lagares. Got around the tag by Swanson, and he's safe. Good hustle by Lagares. Not a bad throw by Markakis. But Lagares able to elude the tag.
Markakis barehanding it. If the throw's on the base, they got him. But good hustle by Lagares. You got a 2-run lead. Go for it.
Do we have Lagares out of the box? The only way he turned that into a double, he must have been sprinting all the way.
He always is out of the box.
That's his mojo.
Yep.
He would be such an asset if he can just get the offense going.
Oh, just missed. Nice try by Swanson.
Well, the Braves are going to challenge the call.
Nope.
Look at him.
Always, Yep, always busting. He cuts the corners on the bases better than anybody in this ball club.
Yeah, he's a great base runner. He just got to get on base more often.
Play under review brought to you by Mazda. Well, the question is whether he swiped him on the elbow as that left arm went in. And we'll find out momentarily. Did he get a piece of the arm on the way by?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I think he got it. The question is it going to be conclusive?
I think we really should start. Let's get someone to send us or a nice big coin, and we'll just flip it in the box, and that's what we'll go with.
Ted Barrett's crew and Jeff Nelson's crew are in the replay center in Chelsea this week, arbitrating these calls.
They were just in Washington. Let's see if the sleeve ruffles.
I think it does.
Can you overturn a call based on that?
I say nay.
I say
no.
I agree. I say no.
I don't think so.
Unless they got another angle.
Well, we've had two prior reviews today, and the two of them were the fastest reviews we've ever seen. One on the hit batsman of Freeman, the other on the non-home run for Kemp. This one going quite a bit longer.
It's not Alfonso there. It's like are they playing him music while they're listening, and Larry Vanover having?
You know, that music you hear when you're on hold. Now the strings of the glove don't count. Remember, if the string hits the arm, that does not count as a tag. It has to be actual leather.
Well, we're going to hopefully find out soon. I'm getting tired of looking at Alfonso chewing that gum.
Well, Markakis hoping to snag an outfield assist, but it's taken a while.
How much time do they have, Gary? What's their maximum?
Well,
now?
their guideline is 2 minutes. It's not really a maximum. They're trying to keep every decision under 2 minutes. This one clearly is going to go beyond that. But the first one went like 35 seconds and the second one went 40 seconds. So they're, average. And they do confirm the call of safe. So there you go. It's 2 minutes of your life you'll never get back.
We had fun. I hit my cameraman with a piece of paper. It was worth it.
Conforto will get the intentional walk.
And I would be inclined to agree with that. I think Conforto has made a statement.
Second intentional walk. Brian Snitker has handed out tonight. The estimated time of review was 2:55, outside the guidelines.
So what repercussions is it for that?
None. Only getting us to talk about it.
Okay.
So now 2 aboard as the Mets bid to expand this 7-5 lead in the 9th. As Dribble Cabrera 1 for 3 and a walk. Lagares at second, Conforto at first. And as Dribble just got out of the way. Jason Mott, now 34 years old. Called up by the Braves last week while they were in New York. So this would be his first home game as a Brave. And now he's behind Cabrera 2-0 with Jay Bruce waiting on deck.
Throwing 93. In his heyday, he was the 97, 98 guy.
Goes after the slider, 2-1.
Look at that average with runners in scoring position. And it's come down.
Yeah, it was 7 for 8. Now he's 7 for 12. So he's in a slump. Fouled away, 2-2. Way after we just watched that last intentional walk. I asked you earlier whether managers would be more inclined to give intentional walks now that they just have to pass them.
Give me the number.
Bob Waterman comes through from the Elias Sports Bureau. 131 this year compared to 137 last year. So premise denied.
Oh.
And now Cabrera is drilled, and that'll load up the bases. So a bloop double, an intentional walk, and now a hit by pitch. And the bases are loaded for Bruce. And a chance to really blow the doors off this game in the 9th inning. The Mets have had, as a team, through their first 24 games, only 11 at-bats with the bases loaded.
That's not a lot.
No. 4 for 11.
So over to the right side, 3 members of the Braves on the right side. They'll have to turn the double play maybe unconventionally.
Shortstop hole open. Neil Walker hit one right through there to drive in a run earlier in the game. Bruce is 1 for 4, and he lofts one foul. Bruce is just 1 for 8 against Jason Mott in his career. And a good cutter in on him, and it's 0-2.
The leadoff slider was the one to hit, and he fouled it back. This is a good one right there.
So now Mott, who could use a strikeout, is ahead of Bruce 0-2. Jay struck out each of his last 2 at bats. Lagares at third, Conforto at second, Cabrera at first, 1 out. And Bruce takes the fastball upstairs.
It's funny, he's using that fastball for show, not for the dough. So probably seeing that cutter back in on his hands.
Now the 1-2 to Bruce. And he pulls one down to first. Freeman gets the out at second. Swanson the return in time for the double play. Side retired. The Braves pull a fancy 3-6-3 double play to get Jason Mott out of trouble in the top of the ninth.
Big league play once again. Freeman on the line, Gary. Makes the play. Quick throw. Nice play.
7-5 to the bottom of the ninth. To the ninth inning. Mets with a 7-5 lead in the opener of this 4-game series. Jerry's Familia got his first save of the season on Saturday night. He goes for number 2 tonight.
Well, a back-to-back in Washington, an outing that saw him being taken out of a save situation. Edgin came in, but the next night rebounded nicely. Let's see if he can do it 2 days in a row. So 2 out of 3 days.
Dansby Swanson will lead off in the last of the ninth. Jace Peterson on deck to pinch hit, and then Ender Inciarte. Braves need to get 2 men on to get Freddie Freeman to the plate. Swanson 0 for 2 and a walk tonight. Was just in the middle of that nifty 3-6-3 double play. And he takes outside from Familia, who leaned on his slider during that save chance on Saturday.
2 runs down. In the old days, you had to take a strike.
In the ninth.
You need a runner on. Let's see if they do it here with Atlanta. A little old school.
Spectrum high speed pitch.
Well, especially with someone hitting 152.
And taking all the way a strike, and now he can get to hitting. Familia, the 6th Met pitcher of the night, trying to save it for Robert Gsellman, who had an ugly line tonight. 5 innings plus, 5 runs, 6 hits, but he stands to go to get his first win of the year if Familia can finish it off. Swanson takes a slider for a strike. 1-2.
Good slider. Always raises his arms, Familia, like that Christmas sweater you got from your family that doesn't fit.
1-2 on the quick pitch, and he got him going upstairs at 98 miles an hour. Familia strikes out Swanson to start the bottom of the ninth.
Well, he pulled the okey doke on the young kid.
Well, Swanson is just a little befuddled right now. Things speed up to chase. That fastball was right by him.
Jace Peterson will be the pinch hitter. Peterson's 1 for 4 as a pinch hitter this season.
just like that taking Familia out and putting Edgin in. Put a little fire under Mr. Familia.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
And the sinker misses. 2-0.
Sometimes it doesn't matter how successful you are, how good things have been. Occasionally you need a little swift kick in the backside.
Well, it's taken him a few outings to get on the beam. But the Mets need for Familia to be the same guy that he was last year when he set a club record with 51 saves. And now he's behind Peterson 3-0.
Very similar to the save opportunity he had in Washington. 8-9 hitters.
And Peterson takes a strike, 3-1. Josh Edgin a third of an inning. Hansel Robles 2/3. Jerry Blevins and Addison Reed each an inning. 3 scoreless from the Mets bullpen, leading to Familia. And he's got 1 out in the 9th. 3-1 coming. And Peterson smacks one into center field for a base hit. And the Braves will get the tying run to the plate in the bottom of the 9th. A pinch hit single for Jace Peterson.
Good hitting, a high sinker. You're just trying to get on base here. Home run does nothing. You want to start a rally. Well, the home run does score a run. Did you get my drift?
Either way, you get the tying run to the plate. And enter Inciarte, who's already homered tonight, will step in. Inciarte's had quite the night. Made a nice running catch in center field after being presented with his Gold Glove before the game. Then hit a leadoff home run in the bottom of the 1st, a single in the 3rd, a walk in the 5th. 2 for 3 on the night. Inciarte has been a big pain in the side of the Mets since the Braves got him. Tying run at the plate in a 7-5 game. And a fastball in the corner, 0-1.
That's a good first pitch fastball sinker from Familia. Now he can throw that one where the bottom drops out.
Long hold, and Inciarte lines one foul. And it's 0-2. Broke his bat on that last swing. He'll go back for a new one. Brandon Phillips on deck. And behind Phillips is Freeman.
You always identify, even as an announcer, you have to identify where he is, don't you, Gary?
You know, Terry Collins is thinking about it, right? He's not bringing in a left-hander. If it gets to Freeman, it's going to be on Familia to get through the inning either way. Saturday night, he was able to leave Bryce Harper on deck by working a 1-2-3 ninth. Ahead on Inciarte, 0-2 with Peterson at first and 1 out. And it's off the plate, 1-2.
It's interesting. That was the 4-seamer he chose to throw 0-2. Maybe just spotting it off the corner.
They threw the 4-seamer to strike out Swanson earlier in the inning.
I think, to me, that's the setup, the real hard sinker. Nope, going back with the 4-seamer. Late move. You see that late move by Darno? Doesn't work though when your pitcher steps off.
Well, Familia trying to be more conscious of the running game. Had a long hold earlier in the at bat. Next time a step off. 1-2 coming. Line, one hopper, grabbed by Walker. Cabrera with a turn, double play, and the ball game is over. Jeurys Familia, his 2nd save of the year. Michael Conforto, a leadoff home run and 3 RBIs. And the Mets win their first ever game at SunTrust Park as they beat the Braves and Julio Teheran 7-5.
Well, Robert Gsellman had enough, but really it was the 12 outs that had to be gotten by the bullpen, ended by Familia with his second save, and 3 home runs in the last 5 games by Reyes. Reyes' home run gave him some cushion.
Well, this is the game that the Mets had to win after that day yesterday, that horrible day yesterday in Washington, D.C. Flying in here, putting that behind you, and winning this first game on the road in Atlanta, outstanding.
Mets even up the season series with the Braves by winning their first ever game here in suburban Atlanta. Here's your game summary brought to you by Volkswagen. Michael Conforto started it. Jose Reyes ended it. Jerry's Familia gets his second save to seal the first win of the year for Robert Gsellman. For every Mets win, the Mets organization is proud to contribute $2,500 to Northwell Health and the Cass Institute for Women's Health. For more information, visit northwellhealth.edu/KIWH. This win brings the total contribution so far this season